Hello everyone and welcome to the ESL Heroes Spring Qualifier. It's the North American Qualifier and it is our third one. We are over the halfway point, Zoya.
Yeah, we're getting there, Gilly. It's been a pretty fun first two qualifiers. We have our top four teams, which will be Cognitive, Tempo Storm, Cloud9, and Bob Ross Fan Club. But over the next 3 days, we're going to find out who the next two teams are to join them.
Yeah, we are now. We had our last qualifier on Saturday, and it was a long day of awesome games, but it, at least on our side, was very favorable toward Cognitive Gaming. They had no problem securing their spot. But Tempo Storm and Blaze, that was a different story. That was a crazy set.
Broke my chair. I tweeted out a picture of it, but I actually broke my chair jumping up and down in it. That ending, game 3 was crazy.
Are you sitting in that chair now, or did you get a new?
I got a new one.
Nice. I should say, though, Resurgence Gaming put up quite a fight for Cognitive Gaming. Even with it being a 2-0, that first game was 34 minutes on Dragonshire, and it was a very intense cast. Was it Shrines? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Dragonshire was a short game.
Oh, okay, yes, that's right. So, yeah, 34 minutes on Shrines, and that was a tense 34 minutes.
Yeah, I think everyone's expecting those two teams to qualify from today. Resurgence and Blaze. I mean, Blaze has been a heavy contention for top 4 now for a while. For a while, I think people did stay with their third place. With a new Cognitive coming up, people were contesting that, as well as the inconsistencies of Tempo Storm. When they're on point, they look great. When they're not, though, so people didn't really know exactly where the teams fell. But Blaze is definitely up there. That's the team we're going to be following today. Our first match is going to be Juan, Cena versus Carbon. The winner of that goes on to play Blaze.
Yeah, so we're excited for that. Guys, this qualifier will work a little bit differently than the past two have. It's going to take place over 3 days. So we are going to do the round of 64 and the round of 32 today, the round of 16 and 8 tomorrow, and then finally it will be... Wait, is that right? Did I do that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Today's 64-32. Tomorrow is 16-8.
So then it's just that. Yeah, that's right. It is just the finals on Thursday, or the semifinals on Thursday. But if this is the first time you guys are watching, we can give you a little bit more information about what is up for grabs. This is the qualifiers for Los Angeles Spring Regional, and it's the Spring Championship circuit that we're doing. So the first round of 3 that will be happening for Heroes of the Storm this year. We've already had 2 qualifiers that have taken place on the past 2 Sundays, and the top 2 teams from each qualifier are the ones who get to qualify for the regionals, which will be the 27th and 28th of February. That will be in Los Angeles at the ESL Studios at Burbank, and $100,000 prize pull up to grabs there.
Yeah, all 8 teams get paid, but the big prize there is at the end. The top 2 teams go to South Korea. Hopefully not North Korea. They go to Korea, though. They're going to go compete in that first spring split with 12 teams total there. 2 from China, which we already know are Edward Gaming, and E-Star. They will be joining 2 from Europe, 2 from Korea, 1 from Latin America, 1 from Southeast Asia, 1 from Australia and New Zealand, and then 1 from Taiwan, which I believe is a $500,000 prize pool.
Yeah, and from there, one team, of course, will become the first champion for this year. But since there is so much to follow and so many teams from so many different regions, the best way for you guys to find out more about this is to go to heroesofthestorm.com/esports. You can also make sure that you're following Esports Heroes on Twitter, as you can get updates from there, and tweet using the hashtag HGC if you want to let us know how these games have been going, what teams you're rooting for throughout all of these different events. As Zoya mentioned before, we are going to be covering Juan Cena, which might be my new favorite name ever, versus Carbon.
Yeah, it's going to be a really cool set. I love casting teams I'm not too aware of, just because it's interesting to see where the amateur scene is developing on its own. A lot of the teams you see at the high level will sometimes have very similar metas because they're playing each other all the time. They learn from each other, and then they eventually figure out what's best through each other. But when you're not scrimming, Bob Ross every single day, you learn you learn either through watching other teams or by playing teams at a lower level. And you sometimes see very different strategies and very different thoughts on how the game should be played, which can sometimes be a good thing. The innovations that come from that, whether it's strategically or through drafting or through just mechanics, can be really, really cool.
Speaking of innovation, we'll be seeing Blaze in our second set, but Team Blaze had some interesting drafts and hero picks from what I hear from the last qualifier. I mean, that's just Blaze in a nutshell to pull out some crazy stuff. But I heard lots of Lunara, I believe. I think you were complaining about that you didn't get to see enough Lunara.
Yeah, Lunara's great. She does great consistent damage.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous what the numbers she can put up late game are. It's really fun to watch. So
And Artanis too. They were playing Artanis.
Can't get behind that one.
Less of an excitement for you. And then my favorite was that they drafted both Rhaegar and Brightwing in the final game of their set versus Tempo Storm, and you really made it work.
Yeah, it was close. The cool thing about Blaze is you don't know what's a pocket strat and then what's an actual thing they think is meta or should be meta, right? It's cool to see these things pop up because it almost worked, that double support strat. It's something that's not seen too very often. I'm curious though, as if it was just trying like a one, because it's okay to have those kind of strats, right? Like Cloud9 at BlizzCon, they busted out that murky unkillable comp. That is a one-time pocket strat that's going to work on a team once, maybe twice, to just catch them off guard. And you don't see it again. That didn't become the meta, right? That was a thing they used to surprise their opponent to see if they could react in the moment, and it worked out versus DK. And I'm curious as if that kind of play style is something they think is going to be meta, something like we see every so often, or even become the norm, or is it just a pocket pick used to catch people off guard? Those kind of styles are always fun to bust out, and that can win you tournaments. You don't have to just going in for the win just off of pure skill and mechanics isn't always the best strategy, because sometimes catching your opponents off guard with cool strategies like Rhaegar Brightwing, can work. And it almost did work versus Tempo. That was an insanely close game.
Yeah, I was yelling at the monitor quite a bit that game. It was nuts. But I guess we have a draft. The teams have just started it. Thankfully, I caught it in time. So I'm going to send that to you.
Link?
Yes.
Yeah, they didn't send it to me. That's why I made that disgusting noise just now.
I know. Well, I just messaged them like, how's it going? And then they were like, oh, here's the draft link, by the way, and it had started. So, Juan Cena, I blame you.
Rip Juan Cena. Well, let's get started, guys. We're going to be opening up here with a Thrall ban from Juan Cena. Thrall, great melee assassin. And keep in mind, these guys might be like Scrim partners, so, could be a potential target ban. We don't know too much about these teams. Team Carbon going to respond with a Zagara ban. Both of these heroes on this map are highly contested, where the solo lane, controlling the top, is one of the most important things you can do throughout the game, and those are two of the best solo laners in the game. So Thrall and Zagara being taken away.
Everything looking really standard from both of these teams as far as we head into the picks as well. Rhaegar has just skyrocketed in popularity since his changes and is first pick, even ban potential there. And Kael'thas going to be the pickup here. Now, if Diablo gets chosen, that would be an interesting early pickup of him.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. From the competitive standpoint, you have to keep in mind that these are newer teams, these are up and coming, and when you look at something like Hot Slogs, for instance, Diablo has one of the highest win rates in the game, and I believe he is the highest win rate of all the Warriors, so this could, just because of that, just be a effect into why these teams would prioritize these two, as they're both considered some of the best heroes in the game. We've seen time and time again solo Warrior Diablos. I think that is kind of a mistake. Every time we see it, that it does just kind of seem to be a struggle for the team. But they go ahead and lock in the Falstad instead. Potentially pick up Diablo later on.
Yeah, Falstad's a great choice. He has really become a very standard pick to have as damage, but also the fact that his Mighty Gust just brings so much utility to a team composition. The fact that you can have it and it's kind of a safety pick versus an ETC if Juan Cena wanted to go that route. You know that you already have that versus a mosh pit. You also get the global presence that comes from that, so you can stay in lane as long as possible. And you can also fly in and grab a shrine at the last second, which is always a concern to have because of the fact that there's just so many rotations that happen between the shrines and the middle Dragon Knight. And being able to quickly grab one of those shrines and keep your opponents from getting the Dragon Knight is always very nice to have from Falstad.
Yeah, Falstad. One of the better picks right now in the meta for sure. Joanna being locked in, a bit surprising to see this this early on. I think, but it's okay. I think getting a comfort pick on both a support and a warrior is a good thing in the current meta. The damage pool is so deep right now that yeah, you look at Team Carbon right now, how they have Kael'thas Falstad, and it's like, wow, that's two of the best damages in the game. But there's still Jaina, Tyrande, Sylvanas, Vala, Raynor. You have Sonya still available. You have Illidan, who's on the rise again. You have Zeratul, who's becoming a very popular pick. You have Lunara and Greymane. The damage pool is so deep right now that I think we're going to see over the next few weeks, with unless some crazy balance change happens again, that people will be prioritizing damages less and less, and we'll start seeing more early focus on supports and warriors because there's just so many good damages that right now, if you do get locked out of the best like Jaina, Kael'thas and stuff, there's still so many great the picks to choose from.
Yeah. Zeratul going to be the ban from Carbon, and it's interesting to me how much we've seen, at least we did in the matches that we followed, Zeratul being banned, but it makes a lot of sense too from what we had. We followed mostly Cognitive Gaming in the last qualifier, and they have a very fantastic Zeratul player, but Carbon not wanting to deal with that. Diablo going to be the ban from Juan Cena, and now I am thinking maybe they're scrim partners. Yeah. It's just the fact that they knew to ban that, and that was something that Carbon was considering.
Yeah, it'd be kind of unfortunate for if you're an up and coming team and then you make your number one scrim partner in the early brackets. That's really unfortunate for the timing. If that is the case, but Team Carbon going to go ahead and lock in that Muradin. Still a very good warrior with Joanna taken. The choice is between really ETC and Muradin. I think Muradin is still a fantastic warrior. He has great damage. He's great at disrupting the backline. He's still good at peeling despite the loss of Avatar, the stuns on Avatar. And his kit is just great. He's got great mobility. He's got the stun that you can talent into the double stun. And then it's going to be Sonya as well. So all they're needing is that last support pickup.
Yeah, I like leaving the support until the end, so they can flex it a little bit. We'll see what Juan Cena adds. Should be mostly damage, potentially a second warrior or maybe like a melee assassin if they want to do that, but definitely at least looking for one more primary damage dealer and then flex on the last thing. Looking at what we have so far, as far as wave clear, Johanna is going to be really great, especially when it comes to rotating between the mid and the bottom lanes, being able to get a jump on those rotations. And even the nice thing, too, is if they start to fall behind in that regard, the fact that Johanna does stun the minions, it keeps them in the lane a little bit longer and not pressing onto the towers, draining the ammo from those. Looks like they're going to grab Raynor for their first pick here.
Speaking of wave clear, they have both Jaina and Rhaegar as well. Rhaegar with the new Storm Shield talent focus builds, his wave clear is much more consistent, and you see it just happening more often from him. And of course, Jaina's Blizzard Kona Cold combo is one of the best wave clears in the game. So they should be able to control rotations just fine with that Joanna. The trio there should be very good at it. Raynor getting picked up, kind of a bit of a surprise. Raynor is in an interesting spot right now where you really only see him versus, double warrior in the tanky aspect of it, like if it was ETC Muradin. Using the Raynor, though, to disengage versus the Sonya can pay out, but he's considerably easier to kill now. And you have a lot of damage on the end of Carbon. Kael'thas, Falstad, and Sonya can blow up a Raynor before Ancestral connects, even if he does go the damage reduction on his E. So we'll see if they're able to do that. Sylvanas is the last damage for Juan Cena. I'm a bit curious about that as well. I think there's a little bit too much overlap on just like wave clear. Might have wanted to see maybe Vala or Greymane there, someone who can do just a little bit more damage in team fights. But I don't think it's necessarily a bag pick. Might be stylistic for them.
Yeah, I mean, if the concern is for them primarily just getting the waves pushed and then also being able to really push hard once they have the Dragon Knight, they do have Hyperion, and then they also do have Black Arrow from Sylvanas, so they might be just looking for as much split push potential as possible. Put Sylvanas and another member in one lane, put the Dragon Knight with some other members in another one, and then just push hard. Carbon's going to have Malfurion, which will add a bit to the lockdown that they already have, which is considerable. Besides the fact that the Entangling Roots, they also have Ancient Spear from Sonya for stun, the stuns from Muradin, Slow from Falstad, and then also Gravity Lab. So they really have the potential to move around between those two lanes in the rotations, the mid and the bot, and look to get some pickups and start to climb ahead in experience that way.
Yeah, Malfurion is in a really interesting spot right now because he keeps getting buffed, but just like damages, supports, there's just so many good ones. You have Karazim, who's great at blowing up front lines, has good heals. Even if you go DPS spec, you still his healing numbers are fantastic. Morales with good positioning, which people are starting to learn how to do. She's great at keeping up multiple targets. Before it was like if there's AOE damage, you won't be able to play Morales, but now Morales has learned how to heal. Uther going completely unbanned through this draft is mind blowing. There's so many good supports that even with Malfurion's buffs, I don't know how I feel about him. Even solo support Tyrande and Tacit are starting to see more play than Malfurion heals.
Yeah. Well, and Tranquility was the healing from that was reduced.
That is true. Yes, they did nerf Tranquility.
So
But overall, the healing overall from Malf has been buffed.
Yeah.
When you take like pure numbers throughout the game, if you're using your regrowths right, his overall healing is buffed. That's what I meant to say. But you're right, Tranquility was nerfed, which against this composition. Is a bad thing. There's a lot of single target bursts on the end of Juan Cena.
Yeah.
Sylvanas doesn't have the best single target, but she's got the AoE silence. But the burst mainly comes from the Jaina Reyna combo, who can really trunk a front line, especially someone like Sonya. When you don't have like a divine shield on top of her, if she overextends, Reyna and Jaina can really punish her, especially with a Malf healer.
And especially if they can stun her out of her whirlwind too before it can really start to get into effect. And that will come into play a lot, especially if they end up picking Bullseye at level 16, being able to stun her out of that as soon as she comes in, or even condemn, pull her out of that too, then all of a sudden she doesn't have the self-healing and she's completely relying on the heal over time, which, like you mentioned, Burst is going to have an easy time of dealing with.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what Team Carbon can do with this Malfurion healer. It's not, a pick like where you would see like a Lily here. It's like, oh, they're going to lose because of it. But, if they put position properly, and the main thing, when spending so much time with Tempo Storm and scrims and stuff, the main thing about Malfurion that I learned through Dreadnought's shot calling is knowing to stick together but not clump too much. But there's a lot of situations where Malfurion will pop Tranquility, and then you'll have a damage who's just chasing someone who's low and then not getting healed by Tranquility. It's just being aware of Malfurion's Tranquility. That's where a lot of teams seem to struggle with it. Is there will always be that one person who's the most important one to be inside the Tranquility, who's just running away from Malf. Sometimes, even if you have to run into damage to get inside Tranquility, it's a good thing.
Well, guys, the countdown has begun, and we are about to get into game number 1 of this best of 3 between Juan Cena and Carbon. And I just noticed that Juan Cena both have the same, I'm going to show this, the same profile pic. They are so coordinated. But then they also have the Sylvanas player is named Little Wayne, which just makes my day for some reason. It's amazing.
For some reason.
Little Wayne. It's not even Lil, like the rapper name. It's full-on Little Wayne. And Snarly Brown. Snarly Brown is playing Rhaegar.
I am confused.
That is amazing. Snarling like a dog. I don't know how you're not really amused by this. Anyway, I'm going to go back to cameras until we load, because these loading screens have been long, these qualifiers.
It's been a long day for Gilly, guys. Don't worry about it. We're going into game number 1. Please get on Twitter and use the hashtag HGC, and make sure you tag Esports Heroes in it. Let us know who you think is going to win this match and what teams you think are going to qualify. But here we go, going into game number 1 on the left-hand side of the map. I do not know which team this is.
That
Gilly,
is
help
Juan
me.
Cena.
This is Juan Cena. We got Dunstongus on Joanna, Megalomania on Rayner. I hate these names. Little Wayne on Sylvanas, Ragnarok on Jaina, and rounding out the team is going to be Snarly Brown on Rhaegar.
It's so good. Their opponents are Carbon with Prismo playing Falstad, the Eekster playing Sonya, Lil Killer Pony playing Murden, Mr. Meek playing Malfurion, and finally rounding it out, it will be playing Kael'thas Voron.
These teams with their crazy names. Well, let's see how this is going to play out. We talked about it in the draft. When it comes to controlling the rotations, I have to give it to Juan Cena here. They have this great rotation with the Joanna by herself. Even doesn't even matter the damage the dealers with her. Joanna has great clear on her own, but you mix in the Jaina and the Thralls, we see the Earth Shield going down on Joanna and the Blizzard coming from Ragnarok. It's so easy to control these rotations.
Yeah, and it looks like for laning, we are going to have Juan Cena put Sylvanas up in the top. She can clear out those waves really quickly. And Mr. Meek taking some damage right off the get-go. She can clear them out really quickly, so it's a pretty nice one to have up there, and also, of course, stalls them out, too, which is really important so that, like I said, they don't push too far in. We even see Little Wayne sitting there allowing them to damage her so that none of the minions actually push onto the towers. And then from mid to bot, that rotation is going to be great from Juan Cena.
Yeah. It's gonna be really tough to slow this down here. Vernon in a really bad spot. The Roots does connect with 3 members there, so Mr. Meek really saving his teammate's life. If Ragnarok or Mega got a little bit closer there, they might have been able to secure that kill. So great use of the utility of Malfurion here. Looks like Murden wants to pressure this bottom lane rotation, try and slow it down. In the top lane, it does look like Falstad was able to beat out Sylvanas, no problem there. And it's actually not something we talked about in the draft. When it comes to the 1v1, the solo matchups, Carbon has the much better composition for that.
Yeah.
Both Falstad and Sonya are fantastic solo laners. Well, there isn't really a good solo laner on the end of Juan Cena. I mean, Rhaegar's probably, ironically, the support is probably the best solo laner on this team. Vernon gets very low and does get taken down in the bottom lane there. Great aggression coming out from Juan Cena.
Looking at some of the talents that we have thus far, we do have Seasoned Marksman for both Falstad as well as Raynor, so it's not going to be the more sustainable Raynor build, at least for now, although he could still look to pick up Fight or Flight at level 7. Also, we do have Lost Soul, so reducing the cooldown of Shadow Dagger, so later on, more cold embraces, more vulnerability for the team. And then Malfurion picked up Shando's Clarity, so we may see him pick up Versatile right here and be sort of a mana battery, and that was buffed recently for Malfurion in the last patch.
Yeah, to get the increased mana buff as well. So we'll see how influential that can be. It's kind of an interesting state where there aren't many heroes in the game who actually have mana issues to the extreme, which is probably another reason why Malfurion isn't as regarded before. A lot of heroes did have mana problems, to the point where we saw Janus take Arcane Intellect for a while. But not the case anymore. Unstoppably used here on Joanna. Really good Blizzard actually from Ragnarok, but he is getting himself fairly in.
Yeah, speaking of mana issues, all 3 of those members of the team are out. And it's just Raynor here, Megalo, trying to control this mid, but not having to deal with anybody thus far. So Sylvanas has not been able to take away that top shrine at all from Falstad. So good job by Carbon thus far of being able to hold these shrines.
I definitely think it's a mistake to have the Sylvanas in the top lane. Putting him in the trio lane and maybe rotating Raynor up there would be the better option. Raynor's not going to win the lane, but getting the value of Sylvanas bottom, and Raynor will do definitely a better job than Sylvanas in the solo lane. Falstad can bully a Sylvanas for days. Look how low Lil Wayne is. He has to Haunting Wave over the wall to keep himself alive. I mean, this is just a lane dream matchup for Falstad.
Yeah, I mean, she can clear out the waves effectively, but just the fact that she has to be up against that Falstad, it's so tough. Anytime she goes in, you could throw a Lightning Rod on, and she's forced to just run out. And Gravity Lapse goes down onto Rhaegar. Sterling Brown getting pretty low, does dodge the Stormbolt, and will be able to get away from that with the help of his teammates. But once again, both the shrines are going to be held by Carbon.
Yeah, they're doing a really great job of winning these lanes. The rotations are being won, but because they're not rotating as 4, they keep leaving Raynor in the mid lane, and that's not going to win you any shrines because it's just going to be a 3v3. You need to be rotating as the 4 to try and put pressure on that bottom shrine, but without Mego rotating down, I don't think they're going to be able to get it here. Both shrines still being controlled by Carbon. They're trying to find a way to cap this, as Sonya and Murden are both rotating mid, but good job from Ragnarok and Mego to force them off of this, and as well as Joanna and Rhaegar coming in down here to fletch them back.
Now, although we did have Electric Charge at level 1, level 4 pickup was still Feral Heart, increasing the regeneration for Rhaegar instead of having Stormcaller, and reducing the mana and increasing the duration of his Lightning Shield. So we will have to watch out for that, especially if he gets rewind in the later stages, he may have issues with mana on that. Ragnarok taking damage from Eekster, who wants to go in. There is the Dwarf Toss in from Murden. Won't be able to Thunderburn or Thunderclap Ragnarok to death, but yet again they force Juan Cena into the situation where they have to be scared about the shrines, and Megalo already on guard duty there in the mid.
Yeah, and that's mainly because the Rainer is not rotating. It's constantly a 4v3 down here. They're almost winning it every time, too. Juan Cena gets everyone very low in the back line, but whenever they don't have enough damage to kill, especially with these condemned blizzard combos doing so much.
Yeah.
Imagine if Rainer was in any of these fights. That would be able to tip the tides enough for them to win. A great root coming out from Mr. Weak. Dunn gets very low, and he is going to be the first death on the end of Juan Cena. Really well done there. I want to go back to what you said about the Rhaegar talents. I don't know if I necessarily like them going Blood and Thunder over Cleanse in this situation. There are so many crowd controls on the end of Carbon. Malfurion roots, Gravity Lapse, stuns from Muradin, even Spear from Zoia, the slows from Falstad Gus. There's just so much crowd control. Not going Cleanse is extremely greedy.
Yeah, that is very interesting. We even talked about that in the draft, about how much chain CC they do have the potential for, but we'll see how that comes in, if it's as much an issue. I mean, it did help them pick up the kill on Johanna, whereas otherwise they might not have been able to down in the bottom lane. She ran into the entangling roots and already had used Iron Skin, and then from there got hit into the Gravity Lapse. So we'll see if they're able to dodge those change CCs or if that'll continue to be an issue for Juan Cena throughout. Both teams nearly about to pick up their heroic abilities, and there they are for both.
Yeah, but you see it's going to be Blessed Shield, Ancestral Healing, Wailing Arrow, Hyperion, and should be Water Elemental on Jaina, but could actually be Ring of Frost as FaZe trying her hardest to make that the popular option here, but it is Water Elemental. Another is going to be Phoenix Tranquility, Avatar, Wrath of Berserker, and Mighty Gust for Carbon. Everything standard across the board, Gilly.
Killick had some really good Rings of Frost as well from Resurgence Gaming in the last qualifier. But it's still going to be Water Elemental this time. Now both teams still just trying to get that first Dragon Knight of the game. We've had some rotations up. It looks like Little Wayne and Ragnarok really want to try to bait out Prismo into the lane and be able to get a kill on him. Ease up the pressure that they've had on them so far. But meanwhile, in the mid lane, still Carbon is trying to pick up that Dragon Knight.
Prismo dying in the top lane, but getting Sylvanas for the trade. Can they stall this out for them to cap top? And it looks like Jaina will be able to get top, so they do end up denying the DK for now. And, you know, this is a really unfortunate situation for Juan Cena to be in, because I feel the later in this game this goes, the better off it's going to be for Carbon. Their composition is much more late game. Zoia becomes very unstoppable at level 16. She's so much more aggressive, so much harder to kill. At 20, she's just a monster. She can dive backline with almost no threat. Kael'thas, who scales at 13. The Falstad, who gets much better at 13 and then much better at 16. I mean, this is a very much late game composition coming for Carbon. And because they're not rotating properly in the rotations in the early game, abusing their composition, as Mega does get very low and does fall, a nice rotation from Carbon. I mean, Juan Cena needed to be ahead here, and you know they're barely keeping up.
Yeah, they do still have the potential for Rainer to scale hard up in there, but they're going to lose Little Wayne up in the top. And even though they have that shrine now, they're capping both at once. Dune is not going to be able to stay in here, and in fact may lose his life for it. Rhaegar does come in, Iron Skin is used, and Voron is out of mana, but still will be able to get behind the gate. So for now, Juan Cena are going to continue to hold this. Both teams really neck and neck at experience, so they shouldn't run into an issue where they're down a whole talent tier and just have to give up a Dragon Knight. But with these rotations, and Sylvanas still not here, they have to be very careful at this point until they can get everyone back on the battlefield.
Ragnarok getting poked very, very low. Good Blizzard coming out. Nice Blessed Shield follow-up, but it's still a 3 versus 4, Gilly. This has been the story of the game for Juan Cena. They just can never get a full group together. And wow, Fawcett in the mid lane. I saw Mega there. I didn't check the maps because I figured he would be able to contest it, but no, they do end up sneaking themselves a Dragon. It's going to be the first Dragon Knight of the game going over to Carbon.
Do you think that they're just having Mega there because they want him to be able to get all of those stacks, or they just really don't want to leave the middle lane up for anything?
I mean, maybe they're nervous that if they rotate with Mega, they're going to sneak a Dragon in, but is it Mega or Mega? Because I can't actually see if that's an A or O. I keep saying both. I think it is an A, so Mega, yeah.
Yeah, it's an A.
I think they think that, but if it's for stacks, I mean, rotating between mid and bottom as a team gets you more. You'd be getting 2 lanes of stacks instead of just the 1, so... yeah, I mean, it's really interesting decision-making coming out from them.
All right, so the defense is here, and we have all 4 members with, meanwhile, Sylvanas split pushing up top. If they can hold this fort, they've almost taken out the Dragon Knight. Then they've pretty much equalized because Little Wayne was able to pick up both of the towers in the top. And that looks like what it's going to be. So good decision making there from Juan Cena to take Sylvanas up. And Shivan is going to rotate back in time to make sure she doesn't get taken out for that effort. And losing the well in the top also is a little bit of a win because of the fact that they might not be able to re-engage as quickly in that fight up top for the shrine as Juan Cena are able to do. But now we're having an invade onto the Giants as Juan Cena really want to at least catch somebody out in the possible rotation too there.
Yeah, they ended up backing away from it then, not willing to try and take it themselves. And despite getting that Dragonite, Carbon is barely ahead at all. I mean, it's almost like the experience didn't change. They're about a fifth of a level ahead, and they're going to be taking their own Giants. Top lane, Bruisers have been taken, so they're going to start pushing that top lane. And Hyperion used here in the bottom to help siege this down. They have the Sylvanas with them. They're as 5 now, so they can't siege, but here comes the collapse. Extra going on to Joanna. He gets hit by the Ancestral Healing. Mega very low, getting kited down, but he is not going to die just yet. Sonya looking for the Spear at the same time. Big Tranquility coming out from Mr. Meek. And Spear does not connect with Raynor. He's not going to go down. Falstead falls instead. Little Wayne and Ragnar with a big blizzard. Murden does door toss in place, I think. He didn't end up going anywhere there. Dunn's going to end up falling instead. And a nice turnaround, a 1-for-1 exchange. And doesn't look like there's going to be any more kills on either side.
Now that Falstad that you talked about earlier, it seems like the person who needs to be in Tranquility isn't in Tranquility. That's exactly what happened to Falstad. He really needed those heals from Tranquility. And speaking of heals, Malfurion has picked up Life Seed at level 13, trying to increase his healing capabilities more, but you do give up Ice Block at that point. So it's a potential that Juan Cena might be able to catch him and blow him up, and he won't be able to use that until his team can come back into play. The Wailing Arrow also in that was excellent. It hit 4 people. It's just that Tranquility had already been popped, so she wasn't quite able to stop that from being able to save the teammates.
Yeah, it was a really good fight on both ends. A little few decision-making changes, and maybe a little bit of better focus fire that could have gone either way, team's way. Level 16 picked up here first for Carbon as they are looking to apply a little bit extra damage, and this is a big tier for these guys. Falstead does fly down to help even the odds in case a fight was forced, but the most important one is Sonya's level 16. Getting the Nerves of Steel just allows her to be a lot more aggressive and a lot more survivability. Arcane Barrier is almost the exact same thing for Kael'thas, where it just allows him to be even more safe. This is actually a really good composition for Kael'thas to be against, because who's going to dive Kael'thas on this composition? The Rhaegar? That's really it.
Yeah. Now 16 also is picked up, but we're going to have a fight as well, and Sonya's caught in a really tough position, has to use that Nerves of Steel already. Hyperion starting to push in, and they are able to pick up a takedown on Sonya. Now we have the barrel roll from Falstad to try to get away, as well as the Mighty Gust to help the rest of the team disengage, and Tranquility has to be popped. So that is a long cooldown now that they will be able to potentially make something happen. But similarly, Hyperion, Willing Arrow, and Water Elemental were all used as well for Juan Cena. They do still have Ancestral Healing should they need it, but for now it looks like they just want to try to move around and maybe pick up the next Dragonite of the game. Looking at 16, they also picked up Bullseye, and then it is Northern Exposure for Jaina, as well as that we do have, of course, Rising Storm for Rhaegar.
Another situation where I think better focus fire could have snowballed that fight even harder for Juan Cena. The team was very split, where it was almost only Jaina going on Malfurion at the start, and got Malfurion last hit right before she popped Tranquility, whereas Raynor and Sylvanas were opening up on Sonya with the Rhaegar. If maybe the focus fire would have been on Malfurion there at the start, they might have actually been able to kill Malfurion, preventing any Tranquility healing, and then snowball that fight into maybe 3 or 4 kills. So hopefully the focus fire is a little bit better as we go deeper into this game. It is going to be Northern Exposure on Jaina for the damage amplification, as well as Cold Embrace. I know I've harped on this in the past. There's a lot of overlap. I don't feel like you need both of them, especially since Cold Embrace is AoE. As Sonya gets very, very low here, he might just go down. Nice heals from Meek at the last second. A lot of AoE damage going down, and Tranquility still has 14 seconds on this, but Malfurion is still keeping everyone alive, and Chain Bomb getting maximum value from Vora.
Yeah, they did a really good job of cycling people out, and it looks like that will be the end of it, as Phoenix is going to rotate people away, and Ancestral Healing was used. In fact, Little Killer Pony wants to continue in the fight, and great roots from Malfurion do catch Dune Stangos, but he is still alive, and Tranquility once again is going to be popped, even though everyone is pretty healthy in that, and we're going to see Juan Cena just run away from that, knowing that it's a victory just to have that pop. 90 more seconds until they have that back.
Yeah, not only was it pop preempt at a time where it actually started about getting very low. Does he have ancestral? No, he's actually just going to go down. So good kill. Nice blizzard though coming out from Ragnarok, and they do end up getting fall set with it. Zoia has to use her spear disengage. Ragnarok getting collapsed upon by Vernon. The gravity that's flame strike is there. Will he get the kill? Nat, yes. Ragnarok does end up going down. A 3-for-1 exchange. A beautiful catch there from Voron onto the Jaina there. And whoa, Joanna going way too deep there, but somehow gets a kill onto Zoia as well. But now Mego getting very, very low. He's trying to kite back. The gravity lapse connects, and they do end up getting the kill. A 4-for-2 exchange. And they get themselves a Dragonite. Great plays from Carbon.
For actually 50 seconds until all of the members of Juan Cena will be up to help defend this. And this is a big push that can happen from Carbon, even with 2 people being down. The fact that they were able to get this Dragonite and start pushing in, and they finally get, that's only the first fort of the game. This has been pretty back and forth between these 2 teams. Now they're starting to work on the towers in front of the keep. And should they get enough experience from this push with the Dragonite where it's not too defended, they should be able to pick up their level 20s with plenty of advancement on Juan Cena.
Yeah, great job from Carbon here. They're going to be able to get 20. Probably not off of this keep, but they're going to try get pretty close to it. And I gotta say, MVP of that last fight goes to Thor, and his positioning on that Jaina flank, the chain bombs he's landed in the last 2 fights have been on point. Sometimes a lot of Kel'Thas players play very scared. They're too timid to go in because they are a very squishy player. Chain bomb has a very small range, so sometimes you just don't see these maximum value chain bombs. But Voron, he's not afraid that once he has that 16 arcane barrier to just go in deep and get these mad value chain bombs.
All right, level 20 has been picked up, and we have Bolt of the Storm for Kael'thas, Storm Shield for Malfurion. Muradin still undecided, but he is the one who is in the Dragonite, so maybe trying to still decide between that as... it always seems to be the choice between the Hardened Shield as well as the Rewind when it comes to Muradin's. But it will be Hardened Shield as well as Ignore Pain for Zoia. And then finally Epic Mount for Falstad, so we can be more aggressive with those flights and look to make some really cool plays. Maybe even potentially use that to be able to be all around the place trying to pick up shrines too.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting build coming out from Muradin. I feel that not going Rewind with this build isn't the worst thing. Sometimes I prefer to go Rewind whenever I have like Thunderstrike, but he doesn't have that option. To be able to secure extra kills, and he already has the Pierce, so I'm going for the double stun from Rewind. Not the most important thing I've done. Does get very, very low here. Looks like this fort is going to end up falling to Carbon. They do take a little bit of damage here, but Malfurion's heals doing a great job so far, and that is going to be that fort. The second fort falling. This game is top still standing. Surprisingly, having a keep down, there are still 4 forts standing in this game.
Yeah. Very interesting so far. Now we have Juan Cena needing to get their level 20, so they're going to be able to rotate around. And the nice thing is that they do have people who can clear out the lanes really fast, especially Sylvanas. So it should be no time before they get Storm talents. But it still is going to be hard for them in the next Dragon and Shrine phase because of the fact that they do have that keep down. And so it will be Catapults pushing in toward the mid. The longer those fights go on, they will keep having to go back and try to clear that lane out. And that always is a potential for Carbon to either catch somebody out at one of the shrines trying to hold them, or just get a Dragonite once again of their own and be able to win the game off of that.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, this map can be decided just by one Dragonite. It's tougher to do whenever there's multiple forts up, but it's still very possible, especially when you get to 25 plus minutes. Good push coming out here. I love this decision making coming out from Carbon to pressure multiple forts instead of going for a second keep. This just allows them to have multiple avenues to push in for a keep later on whenever you've exposed both of them, as opposed to just one and trying to get a keep early on. So good, and this also makes it to where it's harder for Juan Cena to be out on the map when they don't have a defensive structure to be behind. Right now with Fort still standing top, they can go and cap top shrine and then have a fort very close by to retreat to.
Yeah.
Whereas if you deny those forts, which is what Carbon's trying to do, it makes it much harder to get on the map. If you look at bottom right now, Juan Cena is very extended from that bottom keep right now to be able to cap this shrine.
Yeah, it plays a huge role when it comes to the shrines. The fact that if you want to go and get a shrine to save your opponents from getting the Dragonite, you have to either decide to just go out and have the lane completely pushed and have to run back through that if your opponents come in, or spend time pushing the lane back before you can even get the shrine. And so it does make it an issue, and that's why it is so important to continue to push those. Plus just the fact that they're keeping Sylvanas back too. Sylvanas has gotten a little bit of free push in the past when Carbon has moved in, and so keeping her back and out of the lanes is really great. But oh, they might be able to catch somebody here, as they are going to grab Zoia initially.
A lot of damage going down on the Rainer. The Ancestral connects, though, through amazing amounts of damage coming out from Carbon, but Mr. Meat getting very low. He does Tranquility Pop, Storm Shield, not enough to keep him alive, but Rainer is going to fall. Big Condemn coming out from Dumb. He gets the Destructible Pop. He's getting so low. He is going to fall, and now it's a 3 versus 4. They're trying to turn this around. They don't have their healer, though, so Vorn playing very, very safe. Sonya has to be careful as well, and they still have to go up against Snarly Brown. Rhaegar, such a great healer in these situations, keeping up multiple members, and it looks like they're going to have to back off, but once they tap well and get healed up a bit, they might be able to contest this bottom shrine and secure themselves a Dragonite, and it looks like, yeah, they're just going to end up backing off. Juan Cena realizing that they can't contest the shrine. Hopefully they can rotate top fast enough, but I don't think they have time with Falstad.
Yeah, and the fact that the lane is so pushed, they're going to start moving up there and try to bypass some of the waves coming in. But you mentioned Falstad can fly in. They also have a bunch of people coming in and might be catching Ragnarok here as Voron is looking to land that big gravity lapse. But Eekster, there he goes. He's going to grab the next Dragonite. And 2 more people down. Still 19 seconds until Johanna is back. But Raynor will be up in 10 and does not have Hyperion. So they won't have that for this defense. And this could be pretty rough for them.
This is pretty rough without a healer, especially with Cold Embrace putting 25% extra damage across the board here. That could make them fall very quickly. And Vorn getting very low in the backline. Ragnarok dodges 2 stuns. And immediately, yep, this is what I thought was going to happen. A lot of damage coming out, but the Dragonite still stands at that 50%. Can they burn it down and fast up? It's at 45%. Murden's trying to kite as well as he can. He's getting healed up, but there goes the Dragonite, 24%. Sonya getting bursted down very fast. It's at 30% Avatar pop. Can they stop this damage? It doesn't look like it, and somehow Carbon closes it out. It was so close. Maybe if the focus fire was a little bit better there, as they were splitting between the 2 targets, they might have been able to burn someone down in time, but wow, what a close race. That was so close to being cleaned up.
Yeah, that was pretty nuts, but great job by Carbon being able to get that victory. And I do think that, I mean, they just had really great, they responded really well to the rotations from Juan Cena earlier on, and the fact that they were able to just get very good value out of both of their Dragonites, that early keep, or I guess mid keep, because it was a pretty late early Dragonite, or first Dragonite, just being able to keep from that, pushing everybody back, making Juan Cena just constantly respond to them, made it very easy to get the next Dragonite, and then from there, push straight in. I didn't know. It really came down the wire, but they did get it.
It was a really, really good game. And again, I have to highlight Voron's play. Minus that little death at the end where they tried to man mode the core, which they did end up winning with. Voron's positioning in team fights, his aggression when he knew he could be aggressive, and the multiple gravity laps. I mean, one of them in mid lane I didn't even think was going to connect. He got the magic tip there. Really well done from him. He played very, very well. His entire team played well, but really wanted to highlight Kel'Thas's play that game.
Yeah, and some good roots too, catching people. Not the easiest skill to land, and especially the first CC in like a chain of crowd control, stuns and roots. I'm still able to make that work, and they got some good takedowns out of it. But guys, we are going to take a break while we get game 2 set up, so it's definitely possible for Juan Cena to come back. Let's see if we can do it. We'll see you soon. Hi friends, welcome back to the best of three between Juan, Cena, and Carbon. We just saw Carbon take the first victory on Dragonshire and looking to win this next game so they can face Team Blaze.
Yeah, it's and that's going to be a tough mountain to climb. As Team Blaze is a
Yeah.
very, very good team, despite not having qualified. People still think, well, I mean, they should still think, but people think that they're still the top three teams in North America, which could be very, very true. They are a terrifying team to face against, not only because their mechanical decision making and the rotations are powerful, but because you never know what to expect versus them. They have so many pocket strategies, more than any team out there, that they can not only catch you off guard in game, but catch you off guard in the draft.
Yeah, and they can make a lot of things work too, which you would not expect, right? Like things like Artanis. They'll play that and then being able to make it work even if you were not at all anticipating that. But for now, Carbon still need to take one more game off of Juan Cena, and the draft is ready, so we're going to check that out. It looks like we will be on Infernal Shrines with Carbon with the first pick, first ban.
The first game they did end up banning out the Zagara, and the second game they do it as well. So it just seems like either here they don't want to deal with, or just know that Juan Cena does very, very well with it. In response, Juan Cena is going to ban out the Rhaegar. If they don't have first pick, they're not letting it through. They decide, they know how very, very good Rhaegar is.
Yeah, he is the top regarded support right now because of his changes, because of his buffs, and especially even the damage that he can put out with that shield build. Kael'thas going to be the first choice of Carbon. That was their first pick in the last game too, and Voron, I believe is his name, made a lot of great plays, especially with the gravity lapse flanks being able, or even just picking up people off of the entangling roots too, to enable his team to be able to get a very important first kill in the team fight.
Yeah, it's very, very powerful play coming out from him on Kael'thas. So no surprise to see a team. I mean, normally we see Kael'thas picked up in situations like this anyway, but for Team Carbon to first pick it makes complete sense. Juan Cena going to go ahead and pick up the Falstad. Infernal Shrines is a massive map. And a lot of times a shrine can be decided by a level difference. And if you have Falstad soaking lanes for an extended duration of time, and then flying into a shrine last second, that could slowly eke you ahead or get you caught up. Falstad's great on this map, and we're going to be seeing the Thrall this game.
Thrall has been hotly contested by a lot of teams. He was banned in the last game too by Juan Cena, and now they're going to pick him up. So similar, I guess, preference on him as Rhaegar, making sure that if they don't have him, the other team can't have him. Infernal Shrines too there's a lot of great places to make sunders happen because there are a lot of hallways to run through, especially around the mercenary camps. So if you can get a good sundering there, very easily throw people around and make a lot of people hit. Carbon, though, they are going to get that Diablo that they were showing earlier in the last draft, last game's draft, as well as potentially grab another warrior, and yes, they will grab Murden on top of it.
I like that pickup a lot. Diablo is a great deny from Juan Cena, as people are starting to learn the Sundering into Apocalypse combo is devastating. So denying that from Juan Cena, as well as the double warrior pickup from Team Carbon. I hinted at it in the last draft that I'm not a big fan of the solo warrior Diablos. I also talked about how the damage pool is so huge that prioritizing warriors and supports is acceptable now because there's so many great damages you can pick from, especially if you already have a Kael'thas. So not only denying two warriors from Juan Cena, but just drafting two great warriors who are going to be able to keep Kael'thas alive is just a really good decision-making in this draft from Team Carbon.
Now, Juan Cena is going to ban Tyrande. I love that choice because Diablo Tyrande is terrifying because of the overpower into the Lunar Flare. Murden Tyrande has long been known as a terrifying duo as well because of the Stormbolt into Lunar Flare. They already have a lot of potential for chain stuns without adding Tyrande to it, and the fact that she can pick up Lunar Blaze at level 7 and all of a sudden she can very easily add to a lot of damage as well as the stuns and even potentially be the solo support for the team too. So a great ban there. Carbon's going to also ban Jaina, and that will limit. Juan Cena did have Jaina as their damage in the last game, so maybe just prioritizing kind of taking away some of Juan Cena's comfort picks.
Yeah, it's It's I like this. I like everything that's so far that's been done by Team Carbon in the draft. Now, Juan Cena necessarily hasn't done anything wrong. I mean, Thrall and Fawcett are both great picks, but when it comes to breaking out of that tier list type meta, where who's at the top, right? Team Carbon has been willing to show that they're not afraid to pick a little bit of things out of order or pick the styles that they want. Juan Cena going to go ahead and lock in that Uther. Somehow he made it through the entire last draft unpicked, unbanned. This time he does get picked up as Rhaegar is banned out, and then Vala as well. So there's just a lot of raw damage coming out from Cena.
Yep, it won't be the triple range this time. They do have the Thrall for some of the damage being in the front line too, and Vala is a great choice. Ooh, are we gonna get Lunara?
Do it. You won't. You won't.
Vala will be nice though for the area damage to the defenders on the shrines. But Lunara going to be a pick for Team Carbon, and it looks like Malfurion again. They're totally fine with making Malfurion work.
I think Malf is... It's tough because there's just like a lot of spread damage against this team. Especially if it's Chain Lightning build, you get the poke from Fawcett, poke from Vala. But the problem is Malfurion is both susceptible to both Thrall and Falstad. Mighty Gust is one of the best counters to Malfurion, isolating the Tranquility from the targets at the front. Malf has no gap closer, he has no burst healing. So if he does get pushed away and he finally crawls back to the Lunara at the last second and pops Tranquility, well, Lunara's still going to die. And then, of course, Thrall Sundering is one of the best gap closers in the game, isolating a Malfurion with Sundering and just blowing him up with the just insane amount of damage Juan Cena has. I mean, that's very possible to do. So it definitely feels like it is a comfort pick for them, Gilly, like you said. It's just I'm not the biggest fan of it, but they made it work last game.
They did. ETC going to be the final pick for Juan Cena as their warrior. They have the potential now. I like that they have Falstad as well as ETC. Falstad's one of the easiest interrupts in terms of Mosh Pit. So they now have denied that Mighty Gust and also still have the potential for Mosh Pit too. There's a lot of places like for Sundering where you can pick up a lot of people in a Mosh Pit because of the tight corridors and the fact that you have to be fighting around those shrines, which the positioning can be very funky around. But looking at who we have on each team and being able to clear up the shrines pretty quickly, Valo's going to be really good for Juan Cena, being able to deal a bunch of area damage. But Kael'thas is really fantastic too. Having the Flame Strikes, you can activate them with Verdant Spheres and steal a lot of the minions away from your opponent's team.
Yeah, it's... I really like this composition from Carbon. If it goes to, let's just say that through the initial combination of Sundering, Gust, whatever they end up throwing down, that Team Carbon doesn't die, they have a lot of sustain, especially late game. Kael'thas and Lunara will be able to outlast Uther's heals very, very easily. So... I'm really, if they don't lose the early game, I'm really excited to see how monstrous composition will be late game, because Lunara and Kael'thas less so with the Arcane Barrier being a normal pickup, but Lunara specifically, very squishy target. If she can stay alive with this double support peeling or double warrior peeling for her, late game damage is going to be out of control from Team Carbon.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the Lunara build too. It's starting to develop the standard build for the professional meta, but there are still a lot of different tiers where some talents are prioritized over others depending on the map you're on, and then also just personal preference. There's really good talents from being able to clear out lanes. But then there's also just really great talents too, as far as being able to deal a bunch of damage. They don't really have anybody too much to capitalize on unfair advantage except Muradin. If they go Thunderburn, then there's twice that he's able to get slows off of Thunderclap and then the Thunderburn that comes after. And unfair advantage, her poison does 50% more damage to slowed targets. So if they can really kind of combo those, they would be able to make a lot of damage happen.
Yeah, and especially when those situations where it's like, oh, they just barely live Living Bomb, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen when the Lunara dots on them. That takes for so much, and it's risky taking the Malfurion because he's a slow healer, but he's got an insane amount of sustain. And if they can just live that initial combo from Juan Cena, I mean, there's no way, even at 20, when you have the Redemption that you can res with, as well as Benediction at 16 for the extra heals, there's no way that Uther can keep up with this damage at late game. It's just way too much AOE and then damage over time. Even a healer like Lieutenant Morales, I would say, is better at Uther at dealing at the AOE damage just because it's a more consistent heal. Whereas there's big cooldowns on Uther, so even
Yeah.
though he has an AOE wave of light, it's
It's very cooldown dependent.
yeah.
Juan Cena, do you have potential for messing up their combos too between Sundering and Mosh Pit? So they'll have to be really
Yeah.
vigilant about making sure that they get those timed right. Also, Mighty Gust too.
Yeah, there's a lot of ultimates that can either win you fights or just be like, why? I had a 5-man mosh pit and you gusted them. What happened, bruh? Those could happen. So we'll see. When it comes to the amount of interrupts for mosh pit, they've got a decent amount.
Yeah.
It just depends on if their cooldowns are up. They have a lot of peel. The Shadow's Harsh Flip, Apocalypse, you got Murden, Stormbolt, you got Gravity Lapse, and then Roots. So it's still a very CC-oriented style, that we saw from last game.
I'm really excited too because we were hoping so much to get a Lunar in the last qualifier, and nobody would play her.
Team Carbon's my hero.
Maybe Blaze too. We'll see what they bring
We'll see.
in the next
We'll see
series.
what they play.
We had a bathroom break, guys, but we are almost back. We're still waiting on one person.
Well, one of them DC'd, so that's why they went on the back room break. They're waiting
I
on the
see
fifth
that.
player to reconnect.
I see that now in the chat. But guys, you can let us know who you think is going to take it. If you think Juan Cena can bring it back to game number 3, or if Team Carbon's going to sweep this 2-0. Make sure you tweet. You can tweet both of us at TempoZoya, at Gillyweed SC2, but also make sure to use the hashtag HGC so that heroes can know as well.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fun event after these next 3 days. Within a week, actually, we'll know all 8 teams that are going to be competing at our North American regionals, which is so exciting. A little over 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks until we're at regionals.
Yep. February 27th and 28th. And then we have right about a little over a month until the World Championship, April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
South Korea, not North South Korea.
Seoul.
Seoul, Korea. The dream.
By the way, guys, we didn't mention earlier that teams that don't qualify in this 3rd qualifier, we still have a 4th one, but all through these 3 that we've done so far, they've been earning points, and the top 8 teams in points that have yet to qualify are the ones who will be invited to the final one, which will be this Sunday. So it'll just be 8 teams, and then 2 from those will be the final 2 to make it to regionals. So these teams are playing for a lot. They're playing for the spots and the safety there, but also just points to be able to even get to play in that final qualifier.
Yeah, we'll see which teams can make it. There's so many good teams here. I mean, I think everyone's expecting Blaze and Resurgence to qualify. But outside of that, I mean, there's still so many great teams who are playing in these qualifiers. OVO Gaming, we've got King of Blade Alpha, King of Blades Omega, you've got Elevate, Panda Global, 2ARC, Cynics Reverse, who have been playing surprisingly well for a new team, Gale Force Esports. There's so many even played of some tangos with the comeback. And of course,
So
Mad
excited.
Timmy's new team that he's playing with Yoda as well, a former teammate of Sray. I believe they're called Salty Ego Lords. I mean, there's so many teams that could fill those last 2 spots that it's going to be really tough. I think people will default to Panda Global as one of those teams that will make it, but you don't know for sure. I mean, there's so many, when it comes to the competing at that tier of play, everyone's really close. Elevate, all of them, so I'm really interested to see who our next 4 qualifying teams are going to be.
As well as to see if anyone can dethrone those 2 teams that everyone seems to think will be qualifying here, Blaze and Resurgence. Both were very close multiple times to being able to qualify, and it really just came down to, I think it was the round of 8 for Resurgence in the first qualifier, and then the round of 4. I'm not sure Blaze, how far they got. I think it was similar, like round of 8 than round of 4.
They made round of 4 in the first one because they fell to Bob Ross fan club for that
That's
qualifying
right.
spot.
So round of 4 twice.
And in the second run, they made round of 4 as well.
It's getting there. I'm excited to see what our 8 teams are going to be.
Yeah, really. I mean, it's going to be so surprising who those last ones are. And it's going to be cool. Preparing for this event as well. Each team's going to have about 2 weeks of practice going into regionals. And there's potentially going to be I mean, Blizzard's already hinted at that a balance patch is coming sometime this week,
This week. Mm-hmm.
as well as we're going to have the Zul patch, which will probably have balance changes as well. So we're going to have all these teams practicing in a changing environment, and we're going to see who even can Bob Ross and Cloud9 adapt well enough before regionals. I mean, with potentially two, maybe even more balance changes coming or balance patches coming, you know. Going into regionals is going to be really interesting.
And another big part of regionals that we haven't had yet is that Li Ming will be available. And thus far, I mean, teams haven't been practicing with her because she hasn't been allowed in any of the qualifiers, but she will be available for play for regionals.
Yes.
And I mean, Dustin Browder tweeted that they are looking at the S of Johan talent at level 4 for her. Whether or not that will actually come in, to play, that any sort of change for her in the balance patches, maybe this week's or in the weeks to come, or if she will come in the way that she is and be available for play just like that, I think will greatly influence how much we see in drafts of Li Ming.
Well, we're waiting to get this guy back in here. They're trying to get a hold of him. And yeah, I'm curious about Li Ming as well. From all the pros I talk about in NA, they think she's OP, they think she's great, but Europe seems to be on the other side of the coin from the pros that I've talked to. A lot of them think she's only okay. Some of them think she's bad, that they'd rather pick Greymane and Luana over her. So it's very different to see. And I'm also excited to see what Korea and China put her. We did see that a tier list came out from MVP Black, and they put Li Ming in S tier, the very tip top of it. She was the best hero on the entire list. So, it's cool. It's cool to see how different regions place her and what they're going to be able to do with her. I think S of Joanna, whatever it is, Jonah.
Johan.
Johan. I don't know why I said 8 different names. S of Johan is a good change to make, because it's very frustrating. That's a talent that should be a heroic or like level 16, right? The power.
Yeah, I think it should be moved to 16 as well. That would be my change for it. Yeah. The big deal is that it totally allows Seeker to proc at 7, and then once you get Mirror Ball as well, it's just like she's supposed to be this high skill cap hero, and it makes it a lot easier to hit those things. And that's even what was mentioned on the tweet too, is that it lowers her skill cap to be able to do that, and it messes with Wave of Force too, the fact that you want to be spreading them out with that, but then you also are pulling people in with S of Johan. So
yeah, I think just either deleting that talent or moving it to a deeper tier would be a good enough balance change to not make her ridiculous, because that's like, number old cast aside, imagine if that was like at level 4, right? That's way too powerful of a talent at such an early tier.
Apparently it was way too powerful of a talent for any tier.
That's true. They just deleted it from the game, which was very disappointing, because that was very fun to watch. OP for sure, and probably needed to go, but was very fun to watch.
Yeah. Guys, we're still waiting on this 5th member, as well as one person who keeps leaving party and then coming back.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing.
I'm not sure what's happening either.
Do we want to go to a break while we wait? So I don't know how long it's going to be.
Yeah, we could go to break. Guys, we're going to take a quick break while we figure out what's going on with these teams. And when we get back, we'll have game 2. news, everyone. We got Little Wayne back in the game, so I think we will be ready to go. Pretty pumped. Looked a little dicey there for a bit.
Yeah. Got close.
But don't forget, the winner of this match will face Team Blaze in our second match and last match of this evening. And then we'll be covering round of 16 and round of 8 tomorrow, finishing up the qualifier with the 2 semifinals on Thursday. Always starting at the same time, too, 6 p.m. Pacific time. Do you hear the wind train behind me?
Yes, I do.
Sorry.
I don't know if stream can hear that, but I definitely can. Sounds amazing.
It's really fun when they go by about 3 a.m. doing that.
Yeah, I wonder what crazy tactics you have to come up to try and avoid that sound.
I don't know. Sleeping in strange spots, perhaps.
Well, guys, we're just about to get into game number 2 here. Really cool drafts. If you look at just like almost like on a raw tier list, Juan Cena's composition. You have ETC, who's considered one of the best warriors. You got Falstad, Thrall, who are probably 2 of the most contested players out there. I mean, Thrall's the best melee assassin. Uther's still a fantastic support, probably number 2 right now. And then you got Falstad, who's great damage. I mean, their composition is great on paper, but I really like Team Carmen's comp when it comes to late game. They scale so very well. If they can get to level 16 without level 13, level 16 without being behind, they are going to be fearsome at the late game team comps.
I love their potential for picks too. We'll see if they can make it work. They did in the last game, but we are loading into it, guys. In just a few seconds, we will have game number 2. I'm going to make sure that my overlay is updated. It is! Hooray.
Did they swap sides?
No, but I have to update the score. And it took...
The production thing, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So, Infernal Shrines. We'll, of course, be looking to see who can clear out the shrines as much as possible, or who can get good picks as the shrine phase starts so that they have time to go through and clear out those skeletal defenders. And we will be almost there. Ragnarok, Voran. I think it's Voran.
Ragnarok, you're ruining Christmas.
There he goes. They have finally loaded in, guys. Infernal Shrines here on the left-hand side of the map. In the blue trunks, it's going to be Juan Cena, Snarly Brown, Gillyweed's favorite player in the world, playing Uther. We got Megalomania playing Thrall, Little Wayne on Vala, Dust Stangus on ETC, and Ragnarok rounding out the team on the Falstad.
Like Angus beef?
I don't know what it's supposed to be.
Because he's playing ETC, that's cool. On the other side, we have Carbon with Voron once again playing Kael'thas. Prismo, this time playing Diablo. Little Killer Pony, again playing Muradin Everest on Lunara. And finally, Mr. Meek will be playing Malfurion once again.
Well, we're going to see these 2 teams contest here at the middle. We'll see if they can get any recovery. So much lockdown on the enemy. ETC could even die here. We do see the Shadow Charge and the flip combo, but not enough damage was there. I think Mr. Meek, if he was there, they'd be able to get that entanglement, which he did rotate down and was out of range for it. Might have been able to secure that kill, but a lot of good early damage here. Gilly, what do you think about these Lunara talent? Or what we'll be seeing from the Lunara build this game?
This is my favorite level 1 Lunara talent. Some people really like the cooldown reduction and mana reduction on her crippling spores, cruel spores at level 1 when it's used on minions, mercenaries. But I love natural perspective and how it gives, it reveals the enemies. And because when you pair that with Starwood Spear at level 13, then when you use your cool spores, you get increased range, and with that plus the reveal whenever nature's toxin on them, it makes it where you can sometimes pick up early kills or kills when you otherwise wouldn't. But we're gonna have a fight now. Megalomania getting pretty low, does get healed back up for now, but that Lunara poison is gonna take him out. First blood on Thrall.
Voron had to have like less than 20 HP there. His HP bar was so low, and he somehow made it out of there alive just by the skin of his teeth. So not a 1-for-1 trade, just barely a advantage going over to Team Carbon here. Now let's talk about as we move closer to those Infernal Shrine phases. I mean, Gilly, you talked about in the draft, there's really good wave clear for the shrines on the end of Team Carbon. A little bit less now that we will be seeing Shando's Clarity on Malfurion instead of the Moonburn talent, but still, Kael'thas has one of the best clears in the game. You just throw out your Flame Strikes at the right time, and you can, secure minions from a long distance.
Yeah, and speaking of Kael'thas, it looked like Juan Cena was trying to maybe catch Kael'thas out and keep him from being able to help his team with that shrine, but he did move back and B-stepped his way to victory there. First shrine is spawning. It will be an Arcane Punisher coming out of this. Level 4 picked up for Carbon, so they have a little bit of a lead there with their talents, but Juan Cena's right behind. They should be able to pick it up before a big fight happens.
Well, you see that Dunn getting poked down here on the front line. I love this aggressive positioning here from the Warriors on the end of Team Carbon here. This just forces them to fall back, but a nice power slide to go down. Murden taking a lot of damage. He dwarf tosses back, and Mr. Meek having a trouble keeping everyone alive here as the damage has been very split. We do see that Prismo getting very, very low, and the grenade secures the kill from Vala. Level 4 talent actually doing something just this once. Everest in a terrible spot as well, and does get taken down. A 2-for-1 exchange so far in favor of Juan Cena, just showing the power of this brawling composition. They're doing a lot of damage to Muradin. He's getting very low, but oh wow, lots of damage going down. We see Protective Shield was used onto the Thrall there to keep him alive, but it looks like this should end up going over to Juan Cena.
Yeah, the first shrine is, it does take a really long time to be able to clear out. So everyone is back up, but they're still just now starting to come back in. And in fact, they realized that they've lost it and said Lunar is going to start to get back. And we're seeing Diablo leave too. So they're going to try to get back out into the lanes and make sure they can get the jump on the lane soak in this, since they know that they could potentially lose a couple of towers here with this first Punisher. But because it's weak, they should be able to bait it over and throw a lot of damage onto it before it can take out too much. And already it's down to half health.
Yeah, it's the first Punishers sometimes don't even get a front wall, which with Juan Cena there focusing down the gate over the tower is a bit interesting there. They're not even going to be able to get both of the towers. So a slight experience lead going over to Juan Cena. And, you know, we talked about the wave clear a lot, but there's just such a better early game team fighting composition coming out from Juan Cena. You know, that all they have to do is just force fights like they did there, and they should be able to come out on top. I mean, this composition from Carbon is very slow. You know, it doesn't start getting any steam until level 13, and then gets even better at 16. So if they just keep forcing fights like they are, especially over these tributes, they can get a full 2-level leads by the time, you know, we hit 13.
I like the Chain Lightning build on Thrall for this to help with the Shrine phases and being able to do more damage, because you have the Roy, the Lightning, which hits additional enemies for the half damage, and being able to make sure that they can keep up with the wave clear, that they do have Prismo, though, and the body blocks from Dunstangus were so good, and they're going to be able to pick up another kill. So 3-1 thus far in favor of Juan Cena.
Yeah, really good job. Even with Soul Feast taken, you know, he didn't get very many stacks so far, but even with the increased health, you know, not able to keep him alive. Like you said, that was almost perfect body block. You know, the Thrall had him pinned from the top. He had to rotate down, but Dunn was like, no, sir. You are not going in. This is what true body blocking looks like. Take a look at level 7 talents. We have Cleanse on Uther. Makes sense. We talked about it in Game 1 how we didn't like that Rhaegar didn't go Cleanse just because there was so much CC, and we saw that punishing them time and time again in the team fights. But this time, not messing around, Uther is going to be able to try and save as many teammates as possible with that.
No cleanse for Malfurion, though, as we will have Enduring Growth, adding some extra valuable seconds to his regrowth, making sure that they can get healed back up further. Lunara is going to have Wild Vigor, increasing the damage of the next 4 basic decks by 50%. That really is a big talent here for her to have that every time she uses her Cruel Spores. Or Crippling Spores. But now we are about to have another Shrine phase spawning. It will be the bottom Shrine, and right now, not too big of a level lead for Juan Cena. It is about half a level, but if they can keep up a good soak, they may be able to try to work this and pick up their heroic abilities before Carbon.
Well, we do have the contention of the point here, and so far Carbon with a slight lead. Dunn trying to get to the front line, but again, this aggressive positioning coming from Diablo and Murden is so good at just keeping these squishies in the back line from taking any damage. Both Kael'thas and Lunar are very safe here, but they have to be careful until Tranquility. It's so hard to keep both of these warriors down that we're just seeing that Ragnarok, Omega, and Little Wayne are just slowly poking them down, and eventually, halfway through this tribute, they're going to be way too low for Mr. Meek to keep up if they don't have that Tranquility. So they're trying their hardest to keep get as many as they can, but still great trades coming out from an actually nice double stun going on the board, and the stun from Uther was there. The root does secure the kill. That's going to be the first step of this fight on Kael'thas. Nice collapse there, and good focus fire despite having 2 warriors between them. They were still able to focus the backline despite having those guys in their face.
And with that, they do get close enough to heroic abilities, and with Kael'thas being gone, that's such a big contender when it comes to the shrines that Carbon are going to have to go ahead and give this one up. Yet another Infernal or Punisher going to go over to Juan Cena, and they pick up their heroic abilities on top of it. So if they can catch somebody when this Punisher jumps in, once they can take down this wall, then they might be able to chain stun off of that. So it's really important that Carbon burn this down as fast as possible before the rest of the members can get it in here, but looks like they're not able to do so, and they may be losing their fort at this point.
Yeah, Fort's going to be very low. Fallstar flies in for a very punishing gust there, and Mr. Meek's in the middle of everyone. Nice straight from Lil Wayne, and that's a great mosh pit just to help secure that kill. Sundering comes out on Lunar. Lil Wayne, can he get in range for the Hungering Arrow? If it would have connected, would have been enough to secure the kill onto Everest, but just a little bit out of range there. Good Divine Shield to keep Mega up there. You know, it's 90-second cooldown, so he's going to be down for a while, but he was going to die to that tower if he didn't get that.
So the big deal there was that we just didn't have all of the members, as well as the fact that they had their heroic abilities, and that gust was huge in being able to throw that in. And you know, we talked about during the draft the potential for them to have issues with comboing their abilities correctly, but they did that flawlessly. They had the gust to push people in instantly. We saw the power slide from ETC to be able to catch the members that came in with the great mosh pit on top of that, and then even the Sundering trying to pick up people and continue to stun them after that too. So that will be the key for them as they continue into these team fights.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at these level 10 talents coming out. We have Tranquility, Thornwood Vine, Avatar Phoenix, and Apocalypse picked up here for Team Carbon. Now, as long as they don't take too many more losses here, I mean, the good thing about for them, Infernal Shrines, is the Punisher until really late game doesn't really help you end the game. It just helps you take keeps. So as long as they cannot get too far behind us, they're doing a great job body blocking Prismo yet again. They're trying to turn this around. If APOC goes down, and that is a dead Thrall, Tranquility pop, and Prismo still somehow alive. He's trying to reposition himself, but he's not going to go down. What a great fight there from Carbon, turning that around.
That's exactly what they need to do at this point, because they are still behind in experience, and they are facing the Falstad, which means that they always are facing a very good split push hero. And if they constantly lose these shrines and lose this level lead, and they are going to lose Diablo on top of this too, potentially, yeah, he will go down. If they constantly keep losing those experience fights like that, then they just can't contest the shrines. And that's once again an issue they're facing. As the strafe goes down, they're going to be able to potentially get Malfurion. The Stormbolt just saves him, but now Muradin is in trouble, has to use Avatar to get away. He will get a regrowth just in time to be able to save the day. Phoenix even going to try to zone them away. But they're still facing a very soon level 13 Juan Cena, and they're still a full level away from even being able to get contest that.
One of the risky things about Team Carbon's composition is they are very dependent on their heroics. Apocalypse, Avatar, Tranquility, and all of them are very long cooldowns. Apocalypse and Tranquility are both 100-second cooldowns. Avatar's 90 seconds now. You know, these are very long durations where they're not going to have their heroics, especially going into this fight. I don't think they can even contest this at all. Even with, maybe because they just got that pick on Bala, they can fight this, being down 13, as it will be 5 versus 4, but still, it's so risky. They're still 40 seconds away from Avatar right now.
Everything's up except for Strafe, but obviously Vala won't be in this fight anyway. They are going to go for it here as Diablo comes in. Immediately, Divine Shield has to be used just to allow Thrall to get away. He throws out the Sundering to try to help the rest of his team get away. Even Mighty Gust going to be used just to continue to push people back now as well. Lots of stuns coming down onto Muradin, as well as the Shrink Ray, but yet he still is getting away. Tranquility will be popped to heal back the rest of the team members. And Thrall and Kael'thas and Lunar are still very healthy in the back line as they start to work on picking up this Frozen Punisher.
But now that is Tranquility down for 90 seconds, and Vala is back in the fight with Strafe. They're trying to force this. A big mosh pit goes down. Apocalypse follow-up is there. Does end up stunning, but Prisma trying to get the flip onto Dunn. Nice Strafe from Lil Wayne, zoning a lot of the members up towards the top there. That's going to be the death of Diablo. 25 seconds until he's back in the fight. Nice stun goes down on the Muradin, and yeah, man, that's just the problem with Malfurion as he's getting so very low. He does get hit by the Hungering Arrow. It does not secure the kill. He's just barely going to end up living there, but Tranquility's long cooldown, that once it's down, if you're still in a position that you're able to fight, you can do that. You can force the fight despite having Divine Shield down, despite having Mighty Gust still not available in that fight. They were able to go back in there just because they knew Malfurion could not keep up anymore.
I love this pickup from ETC. He did get Prog Rock and then grabbed groupies at level 13, and that's helping with the healing. The Uther is having, has trouble with trying to keep up with those long cooldowns that we discussed in the draft. Also, throughout that entire fight, Carbon did not have level 13. It took them so long to get 13, and although they do have it now, they really paid for it. And now Punisher going in with stuns, they need to be really careful. They need to not be in any sorts of other range, although the nice thing for them at least is that Mosh Pit is down for still plenty more seconds. They should be able to take this out, but still 2 levels down now, even though they do finally have 13.
Yeah, level 13 finally here, which means once he picks it, Kel'Thas will have a chain bomb, which is one of those important tiers. You get the unfair advantage on Lunara, which is 50% more damage to targets that are slowed. That's a great pickup there. But they're so far behind now, about almost 3 level deficit right now, as we see that Juan Cena is hitting level 16. And there's something I want you to talk about, Gilly. I mean, Malfurion didn't go cleanse. Versus the Mosh Pit, where you have multiple targets that are probably going to be in it, like Murdered and Diablo. Maybe the cleanse would have been a better option at 7. If they do get inside of it, they'll have a full second where they can get a stun onto that Mosh Pit.
Yeah, I think maybe the thought was, hey, we have enough, right? We have Gravity Lapse, we have Stormbolt, but the problem with that was the positioning of that Mosh. Kael'thas was pushed way back away from that, and I'm pretty sure Muradin was in it. So it was like Malfurion was just sitting there like, hey, you guys having a dance party? That looks fun. And they lost somebody for it. And now they might lose Muradin to the really good Shrink Ray on him. They're really trying to keep him from being able to get back to his team, but he does still have Dwarf Toss and was able to get there. But Carbon needs 16. They keep going into these shrines down a talent tier, and 16 is a big one.
Yeah, 16 is very important, but they haven't lost the keep yet. That's the important part about having a late game composition on this map, is you can make comebacks. We've seen it happen before in these long games where the Punisher just does not do enough siege damage for it to even take keep sometimes, or even end the game. Very rarely does that happen. So as long as they just keep their head clear and get on even footing, but Sunray goes on Lunara. I think that's going to be a dead Dryad, and yep, there she goes.
Escape options are very limited from her, other than just right-clicking towards your base. So that will be yet another pick. They're going to be able to clear up all of the camps. I do like that Carbon at least grabs some camps to try to slow down Juan Cena. But with the full level and Lunara down for several seconds, it's yet another shrine that they're not going to get the jump on, and very likely going to lose on top of it to Juan Cena.
Yeah, about 12 more seconds till it spawns. The initial burst of it will probably go over to Juan Cena, but Lunar will be there towards the later half of the shrine. They should be able to try and contest it. They need that 16, though. That's why Diablo is going bottom. And actually, there is a slow from Vala that set up a beautiful combo onto Meek, and that is going to be Malfurion out for 36 seconds. They probably could have contested with Lunara just now coming up, but without Malfurion, there is no way they can fight this.
Malfurion's out, as well as Tranquility down, too. He popped that right before he got taken out. So with that, we're going to see Diablo just try to push as much as possible that mid, or that bot. Maybe come up to mid and see if they can get at least a pick on somebody who might be like sitting around. But that's still time that they're not really soaking the lanes. So yeah, they've caught back up with the talent tier, but they're still, they'll still be behind, especially once they start losing some structures to John Cena with Juan Cena. There's Malfurion, he's going to start coming back in, and yeah, they're just going to move back down and keep soaking the lanes, and I like that decision. At least maybe they can get some towers in the bottom. No, that was cleared out really fast.
Yeah, very, very quickly. Punisher's going to be pushing mid lane. We'll see what damage they can do with it. Even at this point, though, we do not see Punishers doing too much. They should be able to get this fort for sure, though, especially if they're very split up like they are. You have the siege camp taken at the bottom. That's going to help them catch up a little bit on experience, especially if it gets that front wall down. But this is a very scary siege they have to deal with. They need Everest and Kael'thas here to be punishing this Punisher as well as they can.
All right, he's going to start moving in. There is a Sundering trying to catch people into a perfect Feral Spirit, and Lunara is immediately taken out of this fight. Mighty Gus can actually push people back. They were a little bit concerned for their team, and being able to just disengage them allows them to work on the towers a bit more, as well as the Punisher. They need to be careful versus this Chain Bomb, though. Look how much damage it just did.
Groupies or no groupies, you cannot survive that much damage.
Yeah.
That is a lot of burst coming out from Kelthos, and this is what we're talking about, that late game viability. Uther struggles. Yes, he was able to keep everyone alive through that, but let's just say the next living bomb went off like that. You got Lunara poke on top of that. That is way too much healing for Uther to deal with. It's just so much raw damage that just spread out. So they have to be very mindful of the chain bombs going into these team fights. It's so terrifying to deal with. Another thing I do want to highlight, though, is the lack of cleanse from Malfurion. Yet again, there's been twice that mid lane pick off on Malfurion. He would have had a cleanse up. He probably could have survived there. That pick on Lunara there at that wall. Cleanse up probably could have survived there too. The lack of cleanse is really, yes, their composition has more lockdown, but ETC, Thrall, and Uther, especially now with Benediction, they have enough lockdown to secure a kill, especially on a target like Malfurion or Lunara.
I have to highlight, though, that was brilliant play by the Thrall player, because he threw the Sundering, had to have hit Wind Fury for the movement speed, because he was sprinting in there, and then was able to even get the Feral Spirit off. So basically chain stunned himself. He was like, hey, rest of the team, are you guys going to do anything, or should I just do all of this work? Because that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was very, very well executed from Thrall. He set that all up by himself. Level 20, though, almost here for Juan Cena as they are clearing out this top lane. Right now they just have to stop getting picked. Carbon is constantly fighting fights 4 versus 5 because of bad engagements. Prismo looking like he wanted to force a fight there, but not willing to dive quite that deep for it. And that's the only opportunity they had to force a fight. They needed to force a fight then before 20, and now with the Shrine spawning 20 versus 18, Gilly, I don't know if they can contest this at all.
Yeah, this is the problem with Shrines when you get behind, is you're basically down a talent tier at every single Shrine. If you can't get a pick and get back in somehow, and they've been the ones that have constantly been picked. And now we have Storm Talents. It looks like they are still desperate to try to catch someone. You mentioned they still haven't lost any keeps, but it will be tough to continue to have that status now that they have a guaranteed Punisher pushing in toward their keep, and that is one that is exposed and has taken a little bit of damage. So they're going to at least try to grab somebody out here.
They're trying to do a lot of damage to ETC. He's overextended pretty far from Uther. The Divine Shield goes down. There's the Sundering onto Prismo, but he's keeping alive. Mr. Meek doing a great job. Mosh Pit used on the front line here, catching 3 people as they did walk into it. Prismo getting very, very low, but Little Wayne not getting the best value with that strafe. Mighty Gust has to be used, and so far, they're still coming out on top. Team Carbon can keep fighting this. They need to get more damage out there and not take too much poke because Meek doesn't have that Tranquility. They're trying to get onto Uther. Gravity connects with Vol in the back line. A lot of damage going on the front line with the Chain Bomb, and ETC's going to go down. Charlie Brown's going to fall as well, but he does have redemption. Diablo falls, but he's got the soul. He's going to be back in the fight soon. Ragnarok getting poked down. A great loot root from Mr. Meek. Can they get the kill on the Ragnarok? And they do. They get the root, the gravity lefts on the Bala. Flame Strike follow-ups, but not enough damage to confirm the kill. And wow, 19 versus 20, Gilly. They come out on top.
They did. It was the power of their poke was strong. They kept Lunara and Kael'thas alive in that. Now they might even be able to catch Thrall now too, but although Muradin does have to Dwarf Toss away, but Prismo is back into the fight. The souls allow him to keep on getting into this, and now they're going to finally be able to win a Punisher of their own and start putting the pressure back onto Juan Cena's structures.
Really great job there from the Uther to keep Thrall alive. The stun from him as the Shadow Charge went out was perfect to interrupt the flip from Diablo so he couldn't lock him down even further. Really great job there.
Level 20, the Storm Talents that we have. Prismo is actually looking to try to keep everyone off of this Punisher. We do have 2 Bolts of the Storm, once again Epic Mount. Next is Frenzy for Vala, so positioning will be very important for her, but of course she does already have Vault, and they do have the Cleanse from Uther, so they have a lot of protection there for her, and that bonus range as well as attack speed can really come in handy for them too, especially with that double front line. A lot of damage she can do there, as well as Redemption for Uther.
Well, the push is happening here. Punisher's doing a lot of damage in that backline. Gravilaps goes down onto Dunn, but they do end up backing out. Big Thunder coming out. That's actually a horrible position. They do get the power slide. Tranquility does get popped by Mr. Beat. Good heal so far. They had that 20. Dunn gets very low from the burst, and that's a lot of damage. That's going to be a dead ETC. Falstead flies in the back, gets the Gust into the keep there, but they still had Tranquility up. Everyone's still topped off on the end of Carbon. Prismo at the front line with Muradin trying to get this keep down. They're trying to secure it. A lot of damage going down on the Thrall, but he bolts back out of there. Ragnarok looking looking for the feint. Gravity Lapse comes out from Vorin, but not enough damage by himself to secure the kill. Cooldowns just weren't there, and I don't know if they can keep this push up 5 versus 4. They do have that advantage in the bodies, but without Tranquility, it's just a little bit too scary, so they do end up giving it up. But now they're completely even on experience, Gilly. They're catching up on kills 7-13 in favor of Juan Cena.
Yeah, I like the decision to leave there. It was pretty scary to try to continue to siege into that with the Tranquility down, and the heal's pretty low. Also, fairly low on mana too, even though we do have Shando's Clarity, so Innervate would be up more often. But I like the idea to paint the battleground red instead. They have that person advantage for a few more seconds, and they're going to have a very good push here in the middle lane, as they'll have both of those camps in a good push into the bottom too. And yeah, with their level, they've got their Storm talents. We have Storm Shield, Galloping Gate for Lunara, so at least to try to help her get away. It won't be Force Wrath for the increased range, I believe, on Thornward Vine. And Bolt of the Storm for Kael'thas, Dying Breath. We've seen that a lot more picked up, haven't we?
Yeah, we've been seeing that quite a bit lately. Really interesting pickup there. I know most people were tending to go the lifesteal talent right on Diablo 20.
Yeah.
But changing it up as of late. The only Storm talent I'm really not too happy with is definitely going to be Nexus Frenzy on Vala versus a composition that has this much lockdown. You know, Bolt of the Storm, man, that can change the game. That can be the difference between you living and you dying, or you securing a kill. Or them getting away, especially when you have Frost Shots. A Bolt Frost Shot can change a fight, but Little Pony going to be scouting out Mega there. Nice positioning from both these teams here. This fight could be it, Gilly. This is a really tough situation for Carbon to be in, because they don't have a fort in mid. If they take it, they still have to go through a fort and a keep, but this is straight to a keep for Juan Cena.
An exposed keep on top of that too. Maybe the Nexus Frenzy is because Little Wayne has only been taken out once, and the idea is that the team has been much more focusing ETC, which is exactly what's happening here, although he does get away from the Gravity Lapse, and a Sundering comes in and pushes both of the Warriors in. Malfury is going to go down very quickly, and that is Tranquility was used there too, so that's also down. But a lot of poison damage, as well as the Chain Bomb damage, is actually forcing Juan Cena away from this, at least initially. But they have the well. They don't have the well there, so they have to go back pretty far just to be able to reinitiate.
That was a really, really good initiation coming out from them. I mean, that's exactly how that's why Thrall is a counter to Malfury. That Stunner into CC lock, what can Malf do? And then Prismo gets taken out very quickly. There we do see the Apocalypse after death with Dorfrost does come out of there. That might have kept Murden alive, actually, as it did hit all those members there. I don't know why he's trying to get one. Oh, there's actually one more. Minion. They have to get it. The Flame Strike misses. Lunara comes in, though, and gets it, so they do end up getting the Punisher. But a big fly from Falstad. He misses the Gust, though. Nice bolt from Void. I don't know if that would have hit him either way, but it's now 5 versus 3. They're going to be able to clear this Punisher up. So getting the Punisher actually might have saved them a lot here, because they definitely would have lost that keep for sure.
30 seconds until Diablo's back. Did not have enough souls to enable him to come back, but Malfurion is at least here. Meanwhile, a lot of use from these Shaman up and top from Carbon. They were pushing the entire time from that fight, and were able to at least open up the keep toward further push up and top. So now, with that, almost on the same tier for structures as... Yeah. Oh yeah, no, they are. They were able to take down the final fort, so that will be it. Both teams now just down to their keeps.
Yeah, this is you know, why we get such long maps on long games on this map is the objective, you know, just can't siege even this late in the game. You know, it didn't even get that fort, Gilly. I know it was 5 people burning it down as fast as possible. Actually, the minions had to clear the fort by itself. But Little Pony going to scout this out. He's going to Apocalypse very, very early here. Actually, they're going in hard though, and Chain Bomb getting maximum value with Everest there. Look at that backline taking so much damage. Little Wayne might die to the poisons. Starlight Brown is getting very low. The stuns might be enough to stall it out. Will Little Wayne go down the protective shield the last second? He's trying to be topped off, and he's just barely going to live, but Snarly Brown is going to go down. He should still have Redemption up there. It looks like all 5 members should still be alive after, so I have to see if Redemption... Yeah, that should be up, right?
Well, yeah, it is. As long as the swirly is around him, then it's up.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Now it was a clutch save. Very clutch save to keep Little Lil Wayne alive, and we talked about it. Although I don't think Bolt in that instance would have made any difference actually, because they all just got caught by the apocalypse. I mean, maybe she could have bolted out of the apocalypse, but that was so brilliant to do the APOC in that area where they all were going to be hit by it, and then chain bomb in there was going to spread. They nearly got, I mean, they did get a kill, but it's just that Redemption was back up. But that does mean that Juan Cena might be a little less aggressive for the next 3 minutes because of the fact that that they don't have that to fall back on if they lose Uther.
Yeah, we'll have to see what they can do in this next team fight. Apocalypse is just about to be up. Tranquility's back. Avatar's up in 20. Divine Shield up in 20. And then every Heroic is going to be available for this team fight. But Voron has to be careful. He gets stunned out. There's the Sundering, and that's going to be a very dead Kel'Thas. Apocalypse comes out. Prisma trying to disengage for his team. Mr. Meek trying to keep up Prisma, but he's going to fall as well. And no Redemption. The second Apocalypse comes out. Can Mr. Meek survive with this? The Bolt comes forward from Mega, and that's going to be a dead Malfurion. And this might be game because of that. 60 seconds on Malf, 50 seconds on the other two. I don't even know if they need to go for a Punisher here, Gilly. They might be able to push straight through mid and go for core.
Yeah, mid has already been taken out significantly. And
top! They got with the Bruisers. They were able to take top keep. So if they can live here.
Nice. It's going to be tough, though. They don't have Kel'Thas, and that is really key. But they do still have at least sieging when it comes to the poisons from Everest, and that can cause problems for Uther because once he uses his cooldowns, it's a long wait until he can get them back. I don't know if they're going to actually try to move in here. I think they're just going to be content with the keep and then move up and get the shrine.
It's not something that we talked about, but the value of the Bruisers on this map, they took the Carpet took the top right one a long time ago when that last Punisher spawned, and it took out the top fort. And then the second one they just took with that, and they took out Keep. You cannot leave Punishers on this map, or excuse me, Bruisers on this map uncontested. 2 Bruiser camps uncontested, took a fort and a Keep. That kept Carbon in this game.
Yeah, it's really important to note that the timing of when you pick these up it's really important, and it's not just when grabbing them. Being able to have them push while you're having long fights around shrines or otherwise, just being able to distract them has so much value because of the fact that they do just freely push, and you will forget about them because you're so concerned about the battleground objective. So that is going to keep them in. It's going to be a tough road to keep this top keep alive for Carbon as the Punisher will start to push down, and we're into 28 minutes, Zoya, so we're starting to get into the very late game here.
Yeah, I have a feeling that there might need to be, or becoming an Infernal Shrine Sweep here and there. Maybe do a little bit extra siege damage from the Punishers or something, because these games can last very, very long. Mr. Meek getting caught, though. No ice block to save himself. He's going to fall, and that is a very tough situation to be in. No Malfurion for 60 seconds. The flip Shadow Charge goes down onto Dunn. He's still going to be completely fine, though, and that is going to be another keep falling here. But are they willing to push in? If they can get another kill, Everest is trying to kite back. Little Pony pops Avatar, trying to disengage for his team. Gravity Lapse goes down on the ball at the top. She gets very low, but Mega does bolt forward to try and get a kill on the Kel'Thas. Mosh Pit goes down. That's a lot of damage onto the Muradin, but the Apocalypse does interrupt it. Divine Shield used on ETC. Mega getting very low to the Chain Bomb, and he does end up falling. They're trying to fight this under core. A big freeze goes down onto Lunara and Avatar Muradin, but they do not follow up for it. And oh man, what a really awkward fight there for Juan Cena there.
These damage dealers are so hard to siege against.
Yeah.
They're having a heck of a time trying to actually get anything done versus Kel'Thas and Lunara, but importantly, they did at least get the keep, and that evens out the pressure in terms of catapults in the top lane against them, so they no longer have to be as concerned about that top lane, whereas middle lane is still a problem for Carbon because they haven't taken that keep down. And once again, they're just going to continue to move around and paint the battleground blue, looking to have the pressure on and hope that they can be as lucky as to get a good mercenary push while they're getting into another fight, potentially at the next shrine.
Yeah, we talked about it in the draft, how Malfurion struggles in the current meta, especially the stun meta, especially when you don't go Ice Block or Bolt to the Storm. Gilly's Little Pony takes a lot of damage, but a lot of damage being turned around the Fawcett at the same time, and Ragnarok falls. There was no Divine Shield for 25 seconds, and now is a 5 versus 4 for 60 seconds, Gilly, and they're looking to push in this bottom lane. That's going to be the second keep of the game going towards Carbon, tying it up. They're going for the chase on the Everest, and with the slows, and there's so much damage coming out from Lunara. Look at how much damage he's chunking on ETC. The flip goes out on the Thrall. Gravity Lapse is there. there, and that's going to be the death of Thrall. This could be game for Juan Cena.
This could be game right now, as they have already taken down 2 of the damage dealers. That's the most important, but they want to go after this keep here as well. Tranquility will be popped, trying to keep everyone alive through the area damage that's being thrown out by Vala. Bolt of the Storm aggressively going forward. Gravity Lapse goes down on an ETC, and he's pulled out of it, but Divine Shield does keep him alive for now. They're moving in, and with one final shot from one final spear from Everest, they take out Vala, and that should be it. That should be game, as the Carbon with a great comeback here. Apocalypse goes down, stuns out the members. They are working on the core. Mosh Pit, though, takes a bunch of people, but it's just Uther to follow up.
They're not able to get too much out of it. I was a bit nervous for Carbon because they did have mercenaries and catapults pushing their core, and it got to 66%, but with those being cleared up very quickly, they're trying their hardest to stall this out. It's at 35%, false stats up, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Gilly, Mr. Meek, and Little Pony still got enough to be able to end this out. Mr. Meek's going to fall, but I don't think it matters, Gilly. That's going to be it. Carbon takes the series 2-0. Oh, man, what a rough game for them. Think of how much different that would have been if they either took Ice Block or Bolt of the Storm, or just had a different support, one that could survive that kind of lockdown. It was such... we talked about the late game potential of this composition, and we saw those numbers throughout all of the middle game. Lunara and Kel'Thas were near the bottom. Kel'Thas swung up to 3rd place right behind Vala, and Lunara got first despite being so far behind and damaged the entire game.
Yeah, she scales hard. Like, so hard into the late game. Once you get the Thornwood Vine, and like Wild Vigor is crazy, Starwood Spear, because every time you're using your Crippling Spores, then you all of a sudden have that range and can hit way more than you were before. Sometimes we see Invigorating Spores there at 16, but that range does more than you might just think about range, because the fact that she can stay just far safer, and you have such insane poke from that and from her vines, and whenever somebody gets hit by Thunderburn and they're poisoned, instantly 50% more damage from the poison. It's unreal.
Yeah, it's so much damage. Lunara, she suffers from the same thing Kel'Thas does, where she's very late game based. Her scaling is much stronger late game, and you also have the same problem with Kel'Thas, where you need like a very good front line to keep him alive, which is exactly how they drafted. And this is the perfect map to do that on. This is the hardest map to win when you've had an advantage the entire time. We see constant comebacks on this map. If you're going to do a draft that is this late game as Lunara Kel'Thas, this is the perfect map to do. We saw Punisher after Punisher after Punisher after Punishes on an overextended Malfurion, and they were not able to end ever. This was a great draft for this map. I'm really happy with how Carbon drafted this. Well, now, because of that victory, they get the prize of going up against Team Blaze in the next series, which we will also be casting. But we are going to take a quick break while we get that set up, guys. When we return, though, get your blazes up. Raise your blazes. I don't know. Is that something you can do? You said raise your barks last qualifier, so I feel like raise your blazes is allowed. No? What about raise your carbons? Still no? Okay, well, do something and get excited, because we have Team Blaze versus Carbon coming soon.